Hey, what's going on, everybody? Second video on biogeochemical cycles is focused on the carbon cycle. Carbon cycle is the cycling of carbon. In the gaseous form, it's going to be carbon dioxide. It's going to be cycling from the atmosphere into the biosphere, into the hydrosphere, and so forth. And so we'll kind of go through the steps here. So obviously, key components of the carbon cycle involve photosynthesis, with plants pull carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. How do we get our carbon? We get our carbon by consuming, right? That the carbon dioxide that's pulled out of the atmosphere for plants is built into sugars, right? And those sugars are built into polysaccharides, and herbivores are going to consume producers, and that's how the carbon is going to be kind of cycled down through the food chain. So we get it from consuming from the food chain. When we die, what happens is carbon dioxide returns to the atmosphere after decomposition, right? So as our bodies are decomposed, or as a deer on the side of the road that's been hit, that's starting to undergo decomposition, that carbon is released by decomposition in the form of carbon dioxide. However, not all of it gets released back to the atmosphere. Sometimes, right, if you think about where our coal, oil, natural gas comes from, sometimes large amounts of biomass, which is organic material, dead organisms, can get locked underground, and over long periods of time with certain environmental factors such as heat and pressure, right? Some of that biomass can be turned into coal, oil, or natural gas, which are known as fossil fuels. Okay, so that's kind of the overview real quick, and we'll jump into some more details here. So here's our carbon cycle, right? We could see carbon dioxide in the air, right? There's a couple ways carbon dioxide gets out of the air, gets out of the atmosphere. One is it can be dissolved into oceans, right? So dissolved CO2 can go in the oceans. That's really a two-way street depending on environmental conditions. Carbon dioxide can be dissolved into the ocean, but it also can be released from the ocean. So that's a little bit of a two-way street. But the key way we get carbon dioxide out is actually through photosynthesis, right? That's why plants are so important, really, to help kind of keep our carbon dioxide levels in check. How does carbon dioxide get put back into the atmosphere? Well, one, just pure respiration. When we breathe in oxygen. When we breathe out carbon dioxide. So with that being said, when we look at the carbon cycle, it's also mirroring like the oxygen cycle as well, because oxygen is kind of the opposite of it, right? We all know that when we breathe in oxygen to help cellular respiration take place, aerobic respiration, and in that process, we are going to breathe out the carbon dioxide that we've broken down from the food that we've eaten, from glucose. So respiration, decomposition releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere as well. You also can have volcanic activity. It's not shown on this slide, but volcanic activity can play a role as well. But then you start to kind of put in more man-made activities or human activities that cause the release of carbon dioxide. That's the burning of coal, oil, natural gas. And we do that in terms of combustion, in terms of factories, or in automobiles, transportation, heating, and so forth. Really, the best way to kind of think about the carbon cycle is really to put all this into two categories. Put in the category of what's taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, and the category of what's putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. So it's the best way to think about the cycle. Taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere is going to be photosynthesis, dissolving in the ocean. Again, dissolving in the ocean is a little bit of a two-way street, right? What's putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere? Respiration, decomposition, volcanic activity, volcanic eruptions. And for a long time, right, those are the only real key processes taking place that played a role with the carbon cycle. Hence, carbon dioxide was well balanced, didn't really have any issues. However, then we had this little thing called the Industrial Revolution, where we started utilizing fossil fuels. Now, having carbon locked up in the lithosphere, right, in the ground in the form of coal, oil, natural gas, doesn't do anything to our atmosphere. It's not in the atmosphere. It's in the lithosphere. However, if we start taking it out of the ground and start burning it, we start increasing carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. So now, since the Industrial Revolution, right, we have respiration, decomposition, volcanic activities, but now you add in industry, heating, transportation, the burning of coal, oil, natural gas, and you can see why our carbon cycle is a little bit out of whack these days. And it's why CO2 levels have been increasing since the Industrial Revolution. In fact, I think just past week, we hit about 415 parts per million, and we really haven't had levels like that in our atmosphere for millions of years. So it's not really quite as balanced as it used to be. That's it. That is the carbon cycle. The next video will be on the nitrogen cycle. Thanks for listening.